Hi, I'm Alex Beckstedt.
And I'm Jillian and Alex.
Thanks for joining us on the 10-Minute Tack-Up, brought to you by My New Horse. We're going to sit down for a quick, honest chat about all things horse ownership. So last week, if you joined us on the 10-Minute Tack-Up, you will recall that we talked about horse shopping and where people look for their horses if they're looking for a new one. So now let's say you found your dream horse. Do you get a pre-purchase exam, and what does that entail? There's a lot of chatter about pre-purchase exams. People have a lot of very strong opinions about them, about whether to get them or not and what to include. Jillian, I'm going to hand it over to you because you have had the most recent pre-purchase exam done between the two of us.
Yeah, there was a lot of chatter between people that I grew up with riding, my trainers now. Do you do it? Do you not do it? And my trainers here in Ocala were definitely like, it doesn't hurt. Do the pre-purchase. We want to know what we're getting into. So with Shiloh, we did a lameness, flexions, the more basic kind of thing, just because he was a 3-year-old at the time that had very little mileage on him, was out in the field. So I was really just looking for, are his legs clean? Is his eyesight good? Is he sound? Just that small kind of stuff. And we did realize that he had a club foot, which the owner was very, told us about it from the jump. Yeah. So didn't concern me. And they said that he had no lameness on it. Just keep keep his front shoes on and he'll be good. And everything came back good for him. But for me, once again, I just didn't want to find any kissing spine for something so young, or any things in his legs that would need a lot of maintenance at a young age. And I also was really wanting to see if he had PSSM or not, just since I had a horse with that in the past and it can be hard to maintain. And I just didn't really want to go through that again if I didn't have to. And there were certain things, like I said, that really would have been a red flag for me. But right. For him, his club foot was the worst of what really came up on his PPE. And since it was my first horse, like I said, I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was getting into. I think if I had bought something with more mileage or a bigger record, I would have done a more extensive pre-purchase exam. Right. Alex, do you have any experience doing the next kind of level up, or any experience with that?
Yeah, I've run the gamut of doing no pre-purchase exam to,
So you once again, you love the thrill of just the unknown.
I am not risk averse, yeah. But no, it really depends on your goals, your use for the horse. Like you were saying, you want a riding horse. He's young. Mm-hmm. You want him to have a full career ahead of him. So you're going to look and see what you can find to make sure that you are buying a riding horse for long-term commitment. And so that makes perfect sense. If you are looking for a pasture companion, don't do the pre-purchase exam. And they range. You can spend a couple $100. You can spend several $1,000s. It just really depends on what your risk tolerance is and what your goals are for that horse. That is how I believe you should make your decision.
I agree. If you're buying a horse that's 6 figures, what is another few $1,000s for pre-purchase? Or, right. You know what I'm saying? I think it also is just, has that horse been in your barn? Do you know the horse already? Do you have previous vet records? I think obviously there's a lot that goes into it. But I feel like it's just kind of hard to be like, yes, you always need a pre-purchase, or no, you don't always need a pre-purchase. I think that's when you kind of have to.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that people always like to remind buyers is that you're not trying to pass or fail a horse on a pre-purchase exam. Mm-hmm. It's more of a fact-finding mission. It's for educational purposes, and then you can make your decision.
Yeah, I think that's where I misunderstood how pre-purchases worked before talking to my trainers and people around me. I thought it was just a pass or fail. And I was like, oh, well, if he fails, I move on. Right. Obviously, like you're saying. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that there's so much more that really goes into it. And I know I sound kind of novice in that sense, but it was eye-opening. Okay, what are you willing to work with? And I don't know, I just didn't expect that, and how detailed they are. And, going back to the trainers and being like, hey, how do we handle X, Y, and Z? And they're like, oh, that's not a problem. No big deal.
Yeah. I will say, if you opt not to get a pre-purchase exam, get what I like to call a post-purchase exam. I've done that now on 3 horses that I've gotten that were, all 3 of them were very inexpensive horses. They had very little training on them yet, so I had no clue what their physical capabilities were, and I was willing to assume that risk just to get the horse. In each of those instances, I had my vet come out like within days of buying the horse and getting him back at the barn. And it was just almost basically like a wellness exam where she looked over their body condition. She checked their feet, took baseline radiographs. I think that's the most important part of that exam, is getting the hoof and the lower leg radiographs, just making sure you know what's going on, giving them to your farrier to guide any shoeing decisions, and then just, checking the horse's overall wellness, heart, lungs, eyes, the whole deal, just so you know what you've already bought and brought home.
Well, you brought on the trailer. Here it is.
Yes, it's mine. But again, it informs you of what your horse may or may not be capable of doing. Also, a few other tips, pre-purchase exam tips. I would recommend getting blood work done on a horse if your veterinarian does not already recommend it. I know like a Coggins test and like a standard wellness profile are common blood tests that they do during a pre-purchase exam. They can tell you just kind of a little bit about your horse's overall health and organ function, but blood tests can also be used for drug screening. Like to see, has this horse received anti-inflammatories or something to make him feel more comfortable during the lameness exam? Has he had any calming agents or sedatives? Things like that are probably worth checking into.
Might be a good idea.
The first pony that I ever got as a child, we tried it. It was a saint. Took it to a little horse show. Alex fell in love. Why wouldn't she? Bought the pony, brought it home, and there was not another day of that pony's life that it did not try to run away with me, try to buck me off, try to throw me into the bushes. So we were pretty convinced that pony had been drugged for me to try it. Not sure if that would have shown up on the pre-purchase exam anyway between the timeline, but just lesson learned.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It was a very cute pony, though. And another tip that I have, also involving a pony from years gone by, depending on what your aspirations are for a horse, if it's a mare, if you have any intention of breeding her down the line, I would recommend getting a breeding soundness exam. I had a very well-bred Welsh pony mare that we were retiring. She was in her mid to late teens. There was a woman who wanted to start a pony breeding program on a budget and was interested in buying her, but opted out of getting the breeding soundness exam just because she was on a budget and never got that mare in full. So just another food for thought. Think about what your goals are for these horses down the line.
Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. So add that to the list of many things you can get done during a pre-purchase is the breeding soundness. And real quick, I'll give one more tip that I have learned, which is ask for medical records. Ask for the health history. You can request medical records through a seller's veterinarian or vet clinic, and if they agree to release those to you, they can sign a release and you can get the full medical history. I think if they don't want to give that to you and sign it over, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's also in the seller's best interest to continue doing what's best for the horse if they are receiving some sort of maintenance plan or have a previous injury, just so that the owner knows how to keep that horse comfortable and sound and healthy going forward. I mean, I just think it's one of those best practices sort of things. So those are my little pre-purchase exam tips based on Alex's horse buying and selling experiences. Anything else from you, Jillian?
Think anything else for me? No, I really can't think of anything.
Well, I'm glad that your boy passed with almost flying colors his pre-purchase exam. Oh, we're not supposed to say pass, but he had a good pre-purchase exam.
It was stressful, I will say. Waiting for those results.
Stressful. Yeah.
I was like, and then I got the email and I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, that's it? Oh, no, I do want to call. I did get him x-rayed. I meant to call that out earlier. Okay. We x-rayed all his legs, and that's how we knew about anything that was going on. I didn't forget that, everyone. I did do that. But yeah. And has everyone done pre-purchase exams, I guess? Is it more common in certain disciplines?
I don't know. That's a good question. I know in my hunter jumper circles, like it's pretty much everyone does a basic pre-purchase exam at least.
Yeah.
That's because we're competing. I don't know. We need to get some input. If anyone in our audience is a recreational rider, trail rider, Western rider,
anything, let us know. I'm just now curious.
Yeah. Email us at mynewhorse@equinenetwork.com. Let us know. Well, I think our tack up is just about over, but we will see you guys next time.
Alrighty.